Welcome to JWL Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the country. Now you're probably wondering, why should I watch over here instead of over there? Because over there, they don't care about what you have to say. They say this all the time. They have no respect for us. They say this at least literally once a week. They don't read the comments. They think we're just a bunch of clowns. They don't think we have any idea what we're talking about. We're just a bunch of fools on YouTube or Twitter or whatever. I think it's the opposite. I think we know exactly what we're talking about. So I read every single comment. Whether you think I'm saying is the most amazing thing ever, let me know in the comments below. If you think what I'm saying is awesome and amazing, then also please definitely let me know. Either way, let's get into some discussions, let's get into some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and it's turning into something truly, truly special. I honestly see this channel just as much as mine as it is yours. And I want to build something that we all feel connected to, something that we feel is bigger than ourselves, and something that we're really excited to be part of, something that we're proud to be part of. And I really think we can do it. So without further ado, let's get to it. We're going to be watching a clip of First Things First, talking about the Dallas Cowboys and how they improved to 12-5 and how they're now officially the most amazing team ever, which is just insane, okay? Absolutely insane. I'm kind of debating whether or not I want to go first or let them go first. I'll let them go, and then I have some very strong thoughts on the Dallas Cowboys. I hope they don't share my thoughts because I have it revealed. So I haven't watched this clip, so we'll see what they have to say first.
You're like, hey, I spent a lot of money for exclusive hat rights. Brew, what grade are you giving the Cowboys?
Well, look, it was a tomato can.
Yeah, of course.
There's no doubt about that, Washington. But it was a divisional game, and it was on the road where the Cowboys have darn near been tomato cans. So, look, Dak was great. Early on, it was interesting. The interception wasn't really that much on him, but still, it was like, oh, wow, is this going to be a game? And then they recovered. He and CD continued their great combination. One thing I liked, Tony Pollard ran with some force. Right? He ran like Isaiah Pacheco yesterday. And it was his best rushing game in 6 weeks. All right, so overall, bottom line is they look great. I am a tough yet fair and objective
Oh, don't give them an A.
grader.
Wow.
So there's only one grade to give the Cowboys. Congratulations.
Solid.
You are heading into the playoffs on an A game. So that's a good look for the Cowboys.
Again, I think they played an A game, but for me, it's no more about it's not about the grades anymore. This regular season has been all full of homework, and we all know we've all had this teacher where they're like, the tests are accumulatively worth about 30%. The homework is about 20%, and the final exam is worth 50% of your grade. And you're like, what?
That's a good, yeah. That's
For the
exactly
Cowboys, this is they're in the testing season. The grades, the homework is all done. Everybody understands they're a good regular season team. Now, this is when it all counts. I thought yesterday they checked every box. They kind of had a little grudge match. It was kind of a grinder to start. That feels good when you want to actually be in a match where you're going to get some competition. But then the better team actually looked more superior as the game progressed, and I loved it.
Just 2 quick points. One, I guess one's a question, one's a point. First one is a question to you two. You guys feel a little foolish for the last week? All the time we could have spent about should Philly be on upset alert, we spent, despite my objections, talking this nonsense about whether or not the Cowboys were going to lose to Washington. And you guys both tried to sell me. You both tried to sell me a bill of goods about how it was dangerous. Listen, I don't want to pile on. I just say it feels like when the Cowboys, this is kind of the beats of how we do the Cowboys during the regular season when they're not playing a great team. We spend a ton of time previewing the game, talking about how can they lose, and then they dominate them, and we spend 4 minutes on Monday talking about it, and then we move on to talking about how they can then lose their next game.
That's true.
So that is kind of what happens. It seems a little unfair. Here's the point I wanted to make and show it to you real quick. Does CeeDee Lamb have a case that this year he was the best receiver in football?
Yes, 100%.
So can we show it? Listen, this is CeeDee versus Tyreek. Now, the answer there is statistically Tyreek has him, nipped in everything but catches. But it's very close. And given the fact that I think CeeDee has been
think about that, though. It took him another 16 receptions to still get less yards and, still less touchdowns. So that's not as close as it may look. 16 receptions is a big deal. That's like a whole nother game's worth, more often than not. So, that doesn't even make that does so it's not as close as you can look at the numbers and say, oh, 13-15, oh, 17-49 to 17-99, oh, 12 to 13. There's a big difference there. So, and again, this is what I'm going to say. I'm going to let Nick Wright finish a little bit longer, and then I'm going to give my smackdown on the Dallas Cowboys.
At his best in their best wins,
Yep.
including the game against Detroit, that he was the best player on the field, which is why they're the 2 instead of the 3. I think at the very least, CD should have locked up a first-team All-Pro spot, which is damn near hard, which is hard to get, and he has a real case.
I would go with Tyreek just because Dak
Quality of quarterback.
So, okay, this is what it is, okay? I actually wrote this down, and I'm not going to make a habit of writing things down because I like to just do it off the cuff, but I knew I was going to be talking about the Dallas Cowboys. They beat the Giants, who are a trash team, especially in the beginning of the season when they had Daniel Jones. They gotten slightly better near the end of the season, but they were obviously a trash team in the very beginning of the year. They beat the Jets, a trash team. They beat the Patriots, a trash team. Then they got smoked by the 49ers, who are actually a good team, okay? Then they beat the Chargers. They beat the Rams, and the Rams were completely banged up and were, had no team. They were figuring out what the heck was going on with them. They lost to the Cardinals, and this isn't in order right now, but they even lost to the Cardinals, who are a trash team, and they lost to a backup quarterback. Then they lost to the Eagles, who we say is a trash team. Okay, then they beat the Giants, who is a trash team. They beat the Panthers, who is a trash team. They beat the Commanders, who are a trash team. Then they beat the Eagles, who again, everyone who likes the Cowboys or thinks the Cowboys are good, all universally say that the Eagles are a trash team. So beating the Eagles then is not impressive. Okay, there we go. Then they lost to the Bills, who's actually a good team. Then they lost to the Dolphins, who are really not that good, okay? And then they won in a controversial way to the Lions. And again, that was more about the Lions losing that game than the Cowboys winning that game. And that was obviously incredibly controversial. And even if you don't want to talk about how controversial it was still more about the Lions losing that game than them winning. And then they went on to beat the Commanders again, who are again a trash team. And even in the final game, there were, a bunch of their starters weren't even playing. So please, please, please tell me, where is the convincing win that the Cowboys have? Tell me where the Cowboys beat a good team. Oh, and they beat the Seahawks somewhere, who are also not good at all. And, and a bunch of you Cowboys fans are like, well, the Eagles couldn't beat them. Exactly. So therefore, you're saying that the Eagles aren't good. So this was whole predicated, the whole Cowboys are really great. It's whole predicated on the argument that they beat up on these terrible teams and that they ended up beating some good teams, mainly the Eagles. But the Eagles have clearly shown right now to not be a good team. They're probably going to fire their coach. Everyone's all banged up now. I mean, it's just kind of a disaster for the Eagles. So please tell me, where on their season was there a convincing win? Because anytime they faced a competent team, a team that really has everything together, they either lost or just snuck by a win. Right? They got smoked by the 49ers. They lost to the Bills. They lost to the Dolphins. And they just snuck on by the Lions. So please tell me, where is this confidence that the Cowboys are the beasts of the East, that Dak Prescott is just, the MVP, that no one can stop them, and that they're going to give the 49ers a run for their money and this, that, or they can beat anyone in the AFC, this, that, and the third. Are you kidding me? Seriously, are we joking right now? Like who do you think the Cowboys actually are? They beat up consistently on terrible teams. Congratulations, bravo. Tip my hat to you, right? Other teams couldn't do that. They could do that. But every time the Cowboys faced a legitimate good team, which is going to be the playoffs, outside of maybe, the Cowboy or the Packers are a question mark. I don't know what the Packers are going to bring into the playoffs because they're such a young team that this is pretty much like their first run of the playoffs, and typically teams like that don't do too well. Making me think of like the Arizona Cardinals with Kyler Murray's first year and how that was just like an ugly game. Like that could clearly be that. And again, that's now going to make that's going to make the Cowboys now think that they're this top level team. And it's like, okay, let's see what happens, what you do against the Rams now that they have their full squad back and everyone's healthy and they're ready to go. Let's see what you do against the 49ers. Let's see what you do against Detroit again, if you have the chance to face them. Their best bet is honestly if the Eagles somehow manage to beat Tampa Bay, and then again, I don't know what the seeding would be or how that would all unfold, but essentially their best bet is somehow the Eagles make some sort of run and are then face the Cowboys in the playoffs, wherever that may happen come time, in the situation of the playoffs. That's their best bet. But outside of that, the weakest people right now in the NFC in the playoffs are the Eagles and the Packers. So, but I do not have the Cowboys beating Detroit. I do not have the Cowboys beating the Rams, and that's why the Cowboys are lucky that the Rams and the oh God, help me out here, and the Lions are playing each other. And then I think depending on who wins that game, like if the Rams end up beating the Lions, then the Rams, they're the lower seed, so then they'll most likely outside, unless the Packers win, they'll have to then play the 49ers. So again, that would be like the luckiest break for the Cowboys. So if the Cowboys have any sort of a chance this year, it's really mainly, it'll really be kind of like a luck of the draw that, let's say the Rams are actually a really good team and they just got off to a bad start now that they're fully healthy, and now they knock off, the Lions. Then now they have to go play the 49ers. And so that's a huge, essentially what it ends up being is that the Rams were kind of like misseeded because of how everything kind of unfolded with their season, with injuries and their slow start. And so, which would really help out the Cowboys. But, I don't know. I wouldn't put it past the Packers potentially, making some noise. And let's just say the Eagles pull off the win. What are the Eagles? The 5th seed, I think, or the 4th seed. I'm really don't know. I should have looked this up before. But my point is like, because the Cowboys are the 2 seed, so if they beat the Packers and the Rams win, then the Rams play the 49ers, so then it would be right between 4 and 5. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see who the Cowboys potentially get the opportunity to face. All depends on what happens in that first round and who ends up winning and who ends up losing. So it's just the Cowboys. I'm just not seeing it. I'm not seeing them beat 3 competitive teams in a row to then make it to the Super Bowl. It's just not happening, and it's just I don't know why anyone thinks that it is going to happen. The only chance that this would maybe happen is if the Rams are actually really good and Detroit sneaks out a win because of, again, a ball just bounces in the right direction, and now you're banking on kind of Campbell and again, just like the immaturity and the lack of playoff success that the Detroit has, and then you can kind of take advantage of that come time playoffs, or again, you have maybe the Rams winning and then they knock off the 49ers. Again, it's just some of these silly situations that could potentially happen, because it seems like to some degree some of the playoff teams are kind of not seeded appropriately because of the way it's kind of the season has just unfolded. It's unfolded on both conferences in a very tricky way that I don't think the seeding is actually accurate. I mean, do you really think 1 through 7 versus 1 through 7 versus 1 through 7 is exactly who they are? I mean, I don't think so. I think if we really looked at all these teams, we would organize them in a much different way. So, because I don't know. I mean, do we think the Bills are the second best team in the AFC? I mean, maybe. They're such an inconsistent team that it's hard to really kind of gauge. The Cowboys are the number 2 seed, and like I just said, they played nobody, and they've lost or just barely won against any good team in the NFL. So it's just messy. The Eagles are in the playoffs. Do the Eagles that's my point right now. Do the Eagles look like a playoff team right now? The answer is emphatically no, right? No one would say that the Eagles look like a playoff team, and yet there they are in the playoffs. So that's what I'm ultimately trying to say, is that it's just like it's definitely a weird, bizarre year with no clear frame around the picture. So it's a little bit harder to make sense of, but I'm excited for it. I can't wait. And honestly, one of my favorite things year after year is you know, to watch all these storylines unfold and to see how see the drama. And that's the great thing about the Cowboys. They always bring the drama. Win or lose, the last couple of years have been like controversy with, running out of time and this, that, and, the crowds throwing like trash and stuff on the field, just like all this crazy stuff. And I'm all excited for it. But I'm sorry. There was someone just recently in the comment section. If you're watching this video, you said you're a Cowboys fan and you complimented me for having a great show and energy and stuff like that. And I greatly, greatly appreciate it. So please don't hate me for knocking on the Cowboys. As everyone knows at this point, I am indeed an Eagles fan, and I try to look at things still unbiasedly. And I'm not just being a Cowboys hater. I said the similar things all about the Dolphins, and I like the Dolphins, and I've called the Dolphins out for not being able to beat any actual good teams. And that's my honest opinion of the Cowboys. And for all you Cowboys fans, you don't have to hate on me. Just prove me wrong. And also defend the Cowboys without simultaneously knocking the Eagles. Of course you can knock the Eagles right now because the Eagles are not looking good. So that's a straw man. It has nothing to do with anything right now. So, but let me know what you all think in the comments below. I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts on this one. And please don't forget to subscribe. As I said, we are building an amazing community here, and it's growing and it's turning into something truly special. And I would absolutely love to see you part of it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really helps with the algorithm and the visibility, and I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much, and see you next time.